Does metal and horror go hand in hand? I always thought so, but it seems like it doesn't. Coming up. HELLCAST. So metal and horror was stated, at least on this channel, that they went hand in hand. And as we pretty much started delving into content, trying to put the two together, it didn't seem to be what the audience was interested. There's plenty of things to be said about that, and that could be internet language and all the crap that even makes you even ultimately see a video, but it could be flat out that you just don't care and you're way more excited about sports or whatever the hell. And I know an individual, and I know two individuals that might have something to say about that, and that is welcoming back from the Vladimirs, both Marcus and Ash Thomas. So it looks like we never even left, guys, like from previously. Like, damn, like you're wearing the same shirts. Like the camera angle looks very similar. I wonder. Yeah, I'm still working my ass off here. I got the same Texas Chainsaw shirt on, but what do you so to give some love to the individual that I've definitely had this conversation, and that is Billy from Evilspeak. You know, talking about his zine when he was on Heavy Metal Relics on this channel. We're talking a lot of metal and horror and stuff, because obviously Razorback Records, which he formerly did, and then Surgikill, bringing it back to Ash, and you know all the metal stuff that Billy has done. It's naturally like made me think like here's another person like me. Here's some other people I think are like me, where they like horror movies and metal just as much. But then you start putting videos out like that, and doesn't seem like the case. You know, my own brother, J-Dog, doesn't seem to care about horror movies all that much, but loves metal. Now, he doesn't like sports, but that's a different conversation. So I guess what I bestow upon you as far as a question, do you agree, though, does metal and horror go hand in hand, or maybe not?
To me, it always has. To me, I mean, that's just two huge parts of who I am anyways. Horror movies and metal, I've loved them since I can remember. But you know what I think maybe we should all cherish is that there's not many people saying that. Because it fucking sucks. Everything in my childhood that I've loved, but a lot, has been now commandeered by people, by the society that made it out like you were fucking weird for liking it. And now it's some goddamn thing it's double-edged sword. I do like to go to like a horror convention and see a shitload of people, but then I see kids and all these people doing this shit with like family stuff. I like the fact, and I've grown to cherish something I like, especially something like horror and metal. If someone doesn't like it, I'm happier now than I used to be. Right. I used to get mad, like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You don't fucking like it? I like it. But now it's like, thank God you don't fucking like it. I just don't like a lot of people. I mean, thank you. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you always love horror a lot of times when I show it to you, but a lot of times, I mean, I'm more in I love film, period. And
yeah, you do. You're the
film buff. Yeah, I love movies.
Yeah.
And horror.
We've always watched a lot of stuff together when we were younger, but especially when I got older, I was like, I don't have time to watch fucking movies. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how I was. But I
just love it. Yeah. I mean, I'll sit there and I'd like to crack open a beer, have a smoke or something, and sit there and watch. I could sit there for hours. Right. As long as it's telling a good story, and I love horror movies, sci-fi and fantasy, all that. And
so bringing it back around to Billy, like, I wish I recorded the conversation because it was hilarious. Like, like he sent me the Evilspeak. Like, this is the latest issue. I did an article in it, but at the time he was just getting me familiar with it. I'm like, dude, this is like a beautiful zine. Like, I just want to love it, but I am in horror just because, but basically on how nice it is. But anyway, so we're talking about it, and like, metal fans and yada yada. Like, doesn't it sell? Does your zine sell well to like Razorback fans, like your audience or whatever? And however well we got on the subject of like, metal fans aren't like as into horror, at least some people that we've known, that as much as you would think. And like, he's going off as like, but then they're in the sports, dude. Like, how the fuck does that work? You're in the metal. Like, wouldn't you want to like listen to horror? Like, put the two. And I'm like, I would. Like, I get it like that, especially like when you have a band maybe like Deceased or, one that's just like heavily into referencing their favorite horror movies in their lyrics, that when you discover where it came from, like the movie's just like, this guy at least is just glued then, you want to know, like, oh man, or it's just fun, like, hell, I just was watching, I hadn't seen, for as much as I like horror movies, there's obviously albums, there's obviously movies that escape you that are of the classic kind. So I had never seen Night of the Creeps until the other night.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that was probably why I hadn't seen it, because I liked, more like supernatural, like ghost story, haunted house kind of stuff, exorcisms before it was popular to make every single fucking movie about one. And I think it was the campy value. What's that?
Night of the Creeps is in that, like, cool genre of, especially if you grew up in the 80s, it's a horror, like rock and roll metal.
Yeah.
Comedy. I mean, like Return of the Living Dead. And when I think about Night of the Creeps, I think about first Return of the Living Dead and shit like Demons and Demons 2 and Trick or Treat. I love both Trick or Treat and Trick or Treat.
Oh yeah.
Anything where it's like Black Roses and all them. It's like those are. That's a different type of horror movie. I know walking in, I'm not going to be like mortified. I'm going to probably laugh and cheer through a lot of it, because that's like Night of the Creeps is fun. That whole thrill me shit, the dead fucking serial killer coming back from the grave, slugs and shit's fuck. We watch that regularly, like at least once a year when it comes to Halloween. We like to have like a whole bunch of batches of movies put together, and then Night of the Creeps always shows up because fucking it's one of them great 80s horror comedies. Yeah, but that's nothing like, I mean, Ken Russell's The Devils is. People wouldn't even categorize that as horror, but that's a horrific movie, and it's one of my favorites. That's, if you want to be like fucking freaked out, mortified, I'd say watch something like that. But Night of the Creeps is fun.
Well, it's, I'm kind of the same value for you. So like, kind of maybe dialing in for a guy that's in a band called the Vladimirs and obviously referencing some vampires. So, because I want to obviously invite anybody interested in the audience that if you haven't heard me talk about it previously, so Evilspeak issue number 6, I got to do an article about Nosferatu. And honestly, being a guy that just blabs about metal and stuff and not really writing things down and being more of obviously an article writer, it's like, well, how the hell would you write an article? And I thought it would be cool to write it in many of the ways of like how the movie is like in a way a parallel to a vampire of itself, or at least the lore around it, and then bring in maybe a section of the article and how it relates to metal. And
are you discussing the old Nosferatu?
Well, so that was
Herzog remade that in like '79. You talking about the old one?
That's so great question, because I'm talking about them both as far as the article, but I thought it would be cool that to really talk about Nosferatu as more of I guess a pop culture icon than just like a movie. Because it starts out with the 70s one, or the 70s one, the 20s one, and I think like that imagery is just like, it's been used in metal so much, like
it's great, though.
Yeah, it's oh my god, it's amazing, and that's like kind of the point of it is like, dude, like if you're a guy that's like, never mind not even being a guy into horror, like horror is actually, you know what? Yeah, all the more if you're a guy into horror, it's like it is. In a way, not just being a nerd that's perhaps disgruntled that you don't like the same thing as me, and being like, how do you not like horror or metal? Because it's like, it's so much in metal. Nosferatu alone, you can think cover after cover, and I'm not gonna like you see the artwork that you see Count Orlok on whatever, and they'll take it from the movie. Somebody will redraw it, even in this, like Shagrat from Acid Witch drew a piece.
Hell Witch has a great song called Nosferatu.
And then the songs.
I really love the German goth rock band Nosferatu. I mean,
shit, I didn't even know that. I was thinking of the Swedish band.
That's all. I mean, Nosferatu is iconic. That whole thing.
Exactly.
I still think seeing that old black and white movie, if you look at it, it's like some of the creepiest shit.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fucking great. And I really love the movie that they made, Shadow of a Vampire, about how they filmed that movie and it was a real vampire. Because it seems like it when you're watching that. I mean, that motherfucker is really messed up and spooky looking. I remember being a kid. I loved it, but I was totally freaked out by that.
Well,
that and the Captain Howdy face in The Exorcist were like the only two things as a child that legitimately made me go, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. No, it's funny that you say or you bring up the Shadow of the Vampire. It's like I totally like that is definitely to summarize, give up the article and move on with the conversation is like that. Yeah, like it progresses in like how the movie has influenced certain things, and then that you did get like a remake, but then the remake's like this or the original. It's not. It's Count Orlok. It's not Count Dracula, even though the story is plagiarism, where then when it came to the remake, it's Count Dracula. So it's confusing. And the point I made in the article is that it gets to a point that Nosferatu can still be referenced in metal, let's say lyrically, that if you have a song called Dracula, you don't know. You might think it's Bela Lugosi and the Dracula tale, but unless you have an image to attribute with it, you could be talking about the Klaus Kinski version because he is Count Dracula in that. And he also, Klaus Kinski, he's also been used in a ton of metal, artwork and so on and so forth, that I even think Shadow of the Vampire, which is then just another film, it is like all that artwork and stuff that that you can see and attribute to metal. That's like kind of that definitely makes me a little bit like weird, like or confused by people. Like I don't even like it. Like not even remotely. Like just dismissed it. Like I know my brother J Dog. He would say that the first Nosferatu is boring as hell. I'm sure. Hell, I think you'd think the '70s one is. And it's like, well, because I don't, what am I going to do the whole lot? It's like, aren't you just like visually like sucked in? Like,
No, some people don't like that shit.
Yeah.
Some people don't like the, not just that, but a lot of other stuff like the whole German impressionistic movement. If you show stills from the movies to a metalhead, they'll think it was awesome, but they won't sit through any of those movies. And all those movies are fucking awesome.
Right.
I mean, they're all that kind of shit, like Warning Shadows and Nosferatu and M's a great one. And you could just pick an image off that and use it in metal, and people will think that's great, but they don't give a shit about watching a movie.
Right.
I just actually don't think. I think some people don't like sitting through fucking movies. That's why I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
I really think some people immediately, when they're being told a story that they don't give a fuck about, they just zone out. So
but I have an issue with time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm like, fuck them.
Right.
And I
sit through this for an hour and a half. Fuck.
And I've sat through
like, I'm jamming metal. I can do something else.
Right. So Ash, like you obviously are more silent on the matter. Obviously appreciate horror movies and don't always have the time for them. Have there been like songs and stuff that you've referenced throughout at whatever band it may be in that you've influenced you to write that song?
The last Faithxtractor, there's things based off of broad topics like, but it's never like a complete narrative of a movie I've seen. I don't know.
I haven't done that either though, which is funny. I mean, I use movie titles a lot, but I've never. But I don't like that shit.
But pretty much like most, just about every Surgikill song was based on a movie. Yeah. But I think it was purposely done that way.
Isn't that weird? Like I like songs that are based on movies when it's death metal, or even like Iron Maiden. But I don't really like horror punk bands doing it because it just seems so obvious and easy. And everyone always mentions bands that have horror movie titles, and no one ever mentions Iron Maiden, which is fucked because they use sci-fi and horror movie titles for albums.
Yeah.
Brave New World, and it's got the whole prisoner motif.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Phantom of the Opera, all that shit. It's funny how some bands with certain people get a pass on that, but then like other bands, it's almost a source of ridicule where they're like, "Oh, you named your song after a fucking movie."
Yeah. No.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I mean, it's fine. I didn't have a lot to say about it.
You saved the conversation. Well, it was.
Have you ever heard anybody ever talk about this shit in the Iron Maiden? Because I haven't. And I always thought that was
not
up.
really. Like, because you're right though. Because like the Prowler.
Everything. Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera would be of the early ones, so I'm sure you'd get a lot of those guys that would think like it's boring. Yeah,
there's a fucking movie.
Oh, really? I didn't even know. Well, isn't that like a Western, though? No.
No, it's a fighter pilot.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Well, in its motif, it's a Western. Anything with a hero technically is a Western.
Everybody knows Tame Land's based on Dune. So.
Yeah, all that shit.
But I'm interested. I thought it was because I was gonna bring that up, and you already went there yourself about kind of thinking it's loving horror, but almost thinking it's slightly lame to base songs about horror movies. Because somebody mentioned that, early Crucified Mortals stuff, I was kind of doing that, like basing it purely on horror movies and stuff, and I liked that idea. And then someone said something and pointed out why I kind of thought it was lame to reference horror movies, and it changed my perspective to where it's like, you're right. Like I don't know. I still enjoy other bands doing it and don't feel embarrassed or shamed by doing it myself. But it's definitely made me take a totally different direction in that, me personally, I'd rather be inspired maybe by a horror movie or honestly real events and come up with a story around it. And then make it all fucked up and make it go where it would go in that.
I can only speak for myself, but I think if you're going to use a movie title, be it any movie, and if it's got that kind of influence in it, it should be whatever that emotion was that particular film made you want to call it that. If you felt so, it should be about you. If you're not writing songs coming from you, then what's the fucking point? Well, if you're just going I'm just going to go buy the numbers and write about this movie. That's, you can do that, but it's pretty fucking lame, I think.
In a way, then, you, on the Vladimirs Late Hours album from 2011, I believe it was, never mind the year, there's the song City of the Living Dead. Now, I would assume by the lyrics and the title that that's purely about the movie. However, you could have it could be about the movie, but it still could not, because that movie has two titles, and I forgot what the second title was. Gates of Hell, or Gates to Hell.
No, I mean, I love that movie. I love Fulci. I think that shit's great.
Really? That song's not based... Sorry to interrupt you, but that song's not based on the movie at all?
No, of course, after, the song was worked for a while. So I started putting in things, like the whole right away the priest was hanging.
I was going to say, that's literally a scene.
The song's really about living in Cincinnati.
Oh, so it's the City of the Living Dead then, huh?
I mean, it's, this fucking place is it always has been staging ground for New World Order shit. It's a lot of people here are real smart and real artistic, and there's a whole bunch of them that are I dare to say barely human. They're fucking they're so brainwashed. And I thought about that in that song. That's what that song was mostly about, was here. And hell, what's fucked up is that song's on Late Hours, but that song's super old.
Oh, really?
That song's from the 90s. And I remember, as far as writing the song, that opening riff, I thought that there was a weird, I liked how there musically was a relation between a rockabilly riff and a Bathory riff.
Yeah.
No. So if you do it real fast, it sounds like Bathory. If you do it real slow, it starts to sound like Reverend Horton Heat or some shit. So I wanted to do it mean. So I was I liked the relationship of that being a very metal song, but also the chords that the song's in are very rock and roll. They're rock and roll chords, but they're they're brutalized.
Yeah.
Which is what I thought was interesting. Because if we had gotten together and started working on that song, and I know you never would, but if you'd done something different, I would have been I don't want to do that song because now it sounds like a rockabilly song. But you just fucking beat into it, and I was it should be like Bathory, like Total Destruction. That's what it is, basically.
That's awesome.
But it's funny how there's a fine line between that shit, and you'll meet tons of people who are I hate that, I hate this, and be well, this band you has the same fucking riff that this band has.
Yeah.
Or it's in the same kind of idea. But because it's how it's presented, you don't like it. And I just thought that was interesting.
And a great way to kind of summarize the Vladimirs, too, and one of the things bringing up in the previous video of how it's annoying that it's just, sometimes attributed to being straight up a horror punk band, because it's there's far more to it musically, and I think that description you just gave definitely alludes to that statement. But, I'm interested then, too, because like I said, which at least I have collectively done then, as far as my thought process, having based songs on lyrics and stuff, which I think came from a love of deceased, was then, you know, you took scenarios in life events and then switched it and come up with my own stories. So, like, bringing it back around to Faithxtractor now, where, like, that is essentially, it's not, but it could be in ways, because you're talking about, like, you know, so Raising the World Myth is right here. Available, Reaper Metal Productions, CD and LP, still have them. Get them. Links in the description. But so, like, some of the stuff you're talking about, so, like, Ash, you're probably more the focal point as far as lyrics on this. Like, so, but some of the point is that a lot of, like, maybe, I guess, the conspiracy, like, everything that's going on in this cover, that once you know all the stories behind, so some of the conspiracies and whatnot, those in themselves can be horror, you know, in a way. So, like, you know.
Which is fun, because that's another thing about that band. It's like, I'd rather write about stuff like that than I don't need another fucking Satan song. I'm not gonna write it. I'll listen to it.
Right.
You know, but it's like, you know, it's just, I just don't give a fuck. You know. It's like,
And, you know, and almost like all Satan bands are Christian, anyways.
Yeah.
Satan's involved.
Yeah, I mean, the first song that was ever written.
The band Satan themselves, Brian Ross, is a Christian. He even admitted it. I have the video.
Yeah.
But
the first song ever written for that band was Pillar Biters and Satanic Christians. So it's kind of like, it was just kind of like, oh, let's turn the cross upside down and, like, it's going to be different, you know. But it's like, it's kind of like a belief structure of, like, this doesn't exist unless you believe in this. So,
yeah,
I just think it's a double standard.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you gotta keep in mind too, like,
and it's so fucking boring.
Yeah, it is boring at this point. I mean, I love listening to, like, old Venom and, like, things that are, like, where it's Satan and it's fun. But, like, hearing someone who's getting real serious about Satan anymore, to me, is, like, super boring. It's
Well,
not very
fucking 666
they are.
dislikes.
Yeah. What's funny is, if you're going to be fucking edgy, why don't you just put out a gigantic album about how you hate Muhammad? I mean, I think that'll fucking piss everybody off. If you got, like, I love it when I see bands from the Middle East that are black metal. A couple of them I like, and I'm like, if they're talking about Satan, aren't they just pulling the company line there? I mean, shouldn't they be fucking mad at Muhammad? But they don't fucking dare to put some evil Muhammad album out.
Yeah.
That would be cool. We're going to do one. Our next record's going to be all about how Muhammad's bullshit. You're going to have to cut all this out.
No, I like this. This is the creative aspect coming to fruition right here on camera. It's caught. Well, but I am interested in that.
I love
Somebody on the balcony with us?
I love like the imagery of Satanism, especially old 70s.
Yeah.
When they do Satanism shit, I think it's way more awesome than when they try to pull it off now. And so, like, I understand all that, but I also think you're once again stuck in a fucking construct of man-made bullshit.
If you're, like, truly a Satanist, like, it's confusing to me, because basically your belief system is kind of like one of those churches that, like, takes over an abandoned strip mall plaza, where it's like, how do you not just, like, feel the, like, stripped away, like, cultism that this is, that, like, at least if somebody's, like, going to a full-on church and, like, just, you know, whatever, into it, like, it's a little bit easier to follow the pack, you know what I mean, than just be like this one guy.
They're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
It's like saying, like, I fucking hate Star Wars, but I love the Emperor. The Emperor's the hero of the fucking movie. I'm like, yeah, well, he's a part of Star Wars. So what the fuck? If you don't like Star Wars, why are you even talking about it?
Dude, I'm keeping this shit in because I think, A, it's great, but it's entirely the point I've made. First off, I want to highlight the point that you said I'm bored by Satanism and metal again, because I've always said, it's like, great, this is going to be another album where the demons are coming and Satan's going to take over, and it's like, it's yet to happen, people. Let's stop singing about it, because it's like, I get it. Like, it was cool when, like, you know, when Sacrifice was 15 and writing lyrics like that because it was offensive, or Venom, so on and so forth, where it's I can't do it in my 30s.
Venom told the story. How we're with Satan. They went circular.
Yeah.
Venom already did that. They were rebelling, and then the other ones rebelled. It's like, that story's been told.
Like, I don't even think...
it fucking rules. So
yeah.
Why do you got to keep talking about it?
Right. I mean, or at that point, you're just, like, rehashing their same shit. You know what I mean? Like, come up with your own theories and then spin them off. You know what I mean? And that's where... why we're leaving that in, because I want this show to be an inspirational to anybody thinking like, fuck, I was writing about Satan and he just ruined my lyrics. Oh, but, you know, what happens,
Well,
dude?
band's not that popular.
Yeah, no one likes it.
Yeah. Fuck
But you know
those
what's
guys.
funny? What fucking green one I do. What's funny is, once again, having said that, I do love it when I find a band that's about Satan that I almost for a second believe it's real. Like years ago when we first got Blasphemy and Mortuary Drape. I bought that EP, Mortuary Drape. I actually remember being young and listening like, these motherfuckers are for real. And they probably weren't at all. But I remember being creeped out by the record, like, and then like, well, that's fun. Can someone do that nowadays? Or is that just like, well, they all do it, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Well,
never mind.
and then
Everything's been ruined.
Satan sells, everybody's buying.
Oh shit.
yeah, good album, good parody album. How did this video have anything about metal and horror? And so getting back to that point is because I think, like if you could maybe explain a few of these lyrics, you already explained a few, or one with the, pillar biters and satanic Christians, that it is reality, much like I said that I've been inspired ever since hearing that remark to just like even growing up and analyzing the world in different ways, that like horror could very much be inspired by just living, but it could also be maybe if you're into some of the more, I guess, conspiracy driven things as like, so like this cover, Ash, like I guess, I don't know if it's more so Ash or Marcus, whoever, or maybe both of you guys that came up with like this concept.
But it's mostly Ash's whole scenario, but we talked about it. That's what first started the band, was us talking about this shit on the front cover, basically.
So, like, yeah, like simply, like, why does it have an alien guy, a one-eyed alien guy, seemingly extracting from Jesus, I guess, who's on the cross?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically taking various faiths and eradicating all of them.
It could be Horus.
I mean, that's why there's the devil on there, too. And we put an alien head on there for that. It's basically just everything that you think that you believe is a figment of your imagination.
Yeah, it's human construct.
So it's basically just a stripping down and a ripping out of any type of thought pattern that may have been injected into your brain that isn't really your own. You know what I'm saying? So,
going back to that Crucified Mortal Psalms of the Dead Choir album, there's that song Kill Upon Command, and like there was this dude from the Cleveland area that in Kirtland, Ohio, which there is they're highly Mormon. And so Joseph Smith, who came up with Mormonism, like I guess the only church that he actually has had a hand in building is the church in Kirtland, Ohio, which makes it like the sacred shrine of Mormonism. And this dude, Jeffrey Lundgren was his name, he was a preacher or whatever, because I don't know if they have priests, what Mormons have, there leading a practitioner that essentially at one point he got outed and then he started his own cult of people that eventually he
murdered a lot of them.
Yeah, because he didn't he found them to be like sinners to some degree. I don't know why he deemed, I forgot. I wrote the lyrics and that was years ago. I knew then, but that he was like just so fucking nuts, man. Like he thought he was doing the work of God essentially, and like
he had the grave in his barn or something. They dug up the body.
Yeah, he put him in, like he shot him in the head. They already had the graves dug, and he invited the family. I mean, it was a family, like they had kids, and he shot them all like point blank.
That's right. Yeah.
And like actually
I didn't know that song was about that. It's cool. I played drums on the newer version, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, the original wasn't about that. So I redid the lyrics on it to make it more fucked up. I was inspired by that point. I was like, Kill on Command. Like, well, it was much like what like Marcus was saying about being bored about Christianity or more Satan lyrics. Like, I was bored to have another song called Kill Upon Command and some evil entity that was originally was kind of about that. It was like, I want to like embark a real evil entity because this is like a cool horror story that could be said and nobody's going to know the inner story. So if you're a Crucified Mortals fan, hopefully you're intrigued and like to hear that story. But like, so that's the point though. Like there's a real life event that's totally about Mormons, so it's not even Christianity. I mean, I guess to some degree it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It comes full circle, and you got some fucked up.
Christianity in the most fucked up way.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier.
Yeah.
Because the Mormon Church, I mean, hell, man, you study that stuff. They've done a lot of heinous things.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of crazy documentaries. Some of the most fucked up ones always revolve some fucking Mormon fucking sect of something. It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I do have a separation value. There's bands I don't agree with lyrically, but I'll fucking listen to it.
Oh, yeah,
it
sucks when you're some band.
Well,
I fucking love Early Birdslam, and he's fucking douche bag.
What I find to be the true threat of any of this witch hunt shit is that people aren't like raising the question of like, all right, if that is so, what do we do now? Klaus Kinski was a rapist to his own child. Does that mean Marcus gets rid of his collection? Reaper can't write an article? And then, like, so let me give you a true-to-life fucking analogy. Like, if Klaus Kinski had you over and he made you a fucking tremendous dinner, does that make his dinner suck because he's, like, this horrible person? So then, like, I'm moving. And in the process of moving, I did my research. I don't want my daughter to live in the proximity of a sex offender. So we did the research. Are there sex offenders and what is the radius? You can do that online. I tell you to do it, especially if you got kids and you're moving. So in that regard, we found that there are sex offenders not in the radius where we live, but there are some within the city that we're moving to that one of them works at McDonald's. So does that say I can't go to McDonald's now, and every time I do, I'm fucking condoning the actions of a sex offender?
Yeah,
no.
I know, man.
It's the answer of, like, what do we do with that guy now that he already committed the crime? If we're not going to kill him, he's still going to live. So we got to coexist.
Yeah.
Like, and the internet's not trying to do anything about it. They just want to condemn and then walk away. And you can walk away when you got no fucking face or name or even putting your ass on the line to even make a statement in the first place. When it's just typewriter tough guy shit, and then you just walk away, you know?
And even then, if you fucking say something like you come and say it to one of our faces, I don't fucking care.
Nobody's fist fighting us in the street.
Yeah, ain't.
No.
I'm fucking
just for the thing that they thought that they heard.
Yeah. Yeah. But they sure as fuck were getting a bottle broken over their head at a Vladimirs show early on.
You know what? We fucking hated that. There used to be so many fights at our concerts. It sucked. I actually would know people from both parties who didn't know each other, and they'd each tell me how they got in a fight. It fucking sucked. And that shows you how fucking far behind Cincinnati was in the mid to late 90s to have metal, punk, and like indie rock people and all showing up at the same place. They'd fight like it was the 70s.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. We had so many shows fucking shut down over nonsense.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah. That was a bummer, loading in and playing last, and you just basically just drove your gear there and then loaded it back.
Played 2 songs.
Yeah. So, all right, it's the horror season.
I remember one time playing a song and everything got cut out, and there was a cop right in front of me, and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "A girl out in the parking lot got hit in the face with a brick. She's all fucked up. We're turning the show down." I was like, "I don't even know what's happening."
Yeah. Well, it's the Halloween season. You're obviously a horror advocate, and we just had a video that did or didn't touch on the point of metal and horror, but whatever. So I want to leave with a recommendation because I do it every year. So if you're one of the horror haters, then maybe you don't. So Marcus, number one, like Halloween, it doesn't even have to be a number one. First thing off the top of your head, because it's Halloween 2019. What is a horror movie that you are definitely watching this year or have already watched?
Oh, shit. I always, even though I've seen it multiple times, I will watch Halloween, especially if Shudder does Joe Bob Briggs doing it. I love Joe Bob since I was a kid. They're doing that shit. I watch that. We tend to watch Trick or Treat. I watch The Thing.
Fuck yeah.
Well, shit, I watch John Carpenter's The Thing, actually, more than every Halloween. But I most certainly, even though I've seen Halloween over and over again, it's a cliche answer, but I do watch it around Halloween every year.
Oh, dude, who you think you're talking to? I mean, I got the goddamn guy on my arm I can't fucking look at a goddamn camera to show you, but yeah. So there you go. But so Ash, when you do have time though, what would you be watching?
Well, actually, I watched Halloween last night. And, first I watched it in fucking years, actually, but I enjoyed it. It was fucking great.
Yeah.
It's really hard to answer.
I know a lot of people online, do the 31 days if they watch a movie.
Yeah, I don't do it.
But I've watched I watched that. I did watch The Changeling.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Rules, George Scott, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my faves, dude.
It's actually a really hard question for me because I fucking watch horror movies year-round, constantly.
Yeah.
And it's just, I could tell. When you came in, I had Twins of Evil on. I love Peter Cushing. He's just chewing up the scenery.
Dude,
burning witches and shit. I love that movie.
That's what I said. I did a video a few weeks ago that I was saying, how does a metalhead get into the Halloween spirit if you want? And like Peter Cushing, Vincent Price, like you could just find any one of their movies and put it on, and the worst review you'll give it was like, I enjoyed that, I'm glad I seen it, but I don't need to see it again. Or you'll just be obsessed with it and want to see it over and over.
You can put Peter Cushing on doing a horror movie, and I fucking love it. I think he's great. But yeah, when you came in, we were watching that, and I tried to, even though I always watch Hammer films, something about this time of year, I try to watch like a lot of Hammer films over again, like Horror Dracula shit. Horror Dracula, I watch the Frankenstein franchise, like anything that I can. I really love all the like the Devil a Daughter and the Devil Rides Out. I like that old satanic shit.
Yeah,
it's such a cool time period.
You just told me it was boring.
No.
This guy needs to get his shit straight.
The satanic movies and satanic songs is different.
I was being that internet troll's voice who hasn't been heard yet. They want to get attention, man.
The other day I was like trying to watch The First Tower, which is a piece of shit, but it's a satanic movie, and you can't even find that streaming. That's at least not here.
Well, what you haven't seen for years, and probably not at all, I would like to hope that we're bestowing some great music upon you, and that is Vladimir's self-titled 1997 debut, finally reissued, and it's here on Reaper Metal Productions, and I couldn't be any more proud to be a part of this release, and I was originally very, very proud with one of the first releases back, and that was Faithxtractor, Raising the World a Myth, with the two friendly faces on the back there. CD and LP still available. Reaper Metal Productions, link is in the description. And as we've been talking all about it, Evilspeak Magazine, issue number 6. They're sold on Amazon, so that means that the link I'm giving you not only hooks up Evilspeak Magazine, and it also helps out the channel because Amazon gives affiliate marketing payouts to me. So corporate America hooking it up and not charging anybody to do so. So fuck yeah, grab that if you're so inclined. You will find movies in here that you could appease yourself watching stuff you've never even heard of for a year straight. And then you got 5 other issues you can buy. And then don't forget Woman Angel Under Sadistic Pressure. If you do this, you'll be making your fucking Halloween season awesome. And you'll be giving this guy a hard work well achieved in the birthday season. So if you want to do that, that should be the charity announcement enough for you. But otherwise, you should just be all about awesome fucking music. So Ash and Marcus, been a pleasure chatting with you guys, and I hope the internet will be very polite back with all this conversation you've been worried that they might attack you on. I highly doubt it, though.
Don't like him. They don't like you.
They don't like you?
They always like him. They don't like me.
Well, there you go. And I'll be that guy that leaves off any interview. Is there any last words you have for the audience?
I actually do. I want to say this because I think it's important. For the Cleveland scene, like Dwayne Morris actually was a big part of getting the Vladimirs known in the Cleveland area. I mean, he's really the sole reason why. Why, and it actually really helped the band a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think you'd even know about it if it wasn't for him spreading out around the people up there, So, yeah.
Honestly, I know about the Vladimirs because when Crucified Mortals played Cincinnati and you booked that show, there was a bunch of flyers around and it was like the Vladimirs, and it seemed like it was just in the air that like it was this big deal. And I was like, who are the Vladimirs? And you're like, it's just this band that I do with my brother.
So that was just so that's one of those things that what I just said had nothing to do with you. Okay? so everything I just said pertained nothing to you. Okay.
I guess I carried the torch. I guess I can say thank you to Dwayne though, because I guess I carried that torch with them then, because it's like I found out then, like I told my brother Justin, he fucking loved it, and then all my other brothers. So then Hell's Headbangers obviously put out the album then. But
yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that So that's all. That sounds like something I would say to you. Oh, that's just a band I do with my brother.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why it's like, and that's what's funny about it is like, because you wouldn't like really think like, you think, even if you're like a fan of the Reaper metal stuff, like, oh, that's just one of Reaper's friends and stuff. Like, I'm like truly vested as far as like, dude, like fuck, like, oh my God, I ran into Bruce Dickinson or Tom G and I was starstruck. Like, I'm on the verge of that for this stuff. That's how like much it means to me. So like to be a part of it, I'm just like, it's fucking a holy grail as far as I'm concerned. But like honestly, dude, I even had true story. Do you remember that band Rabid?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the drummer, he's there in that band now, Fatal Curse.
Right.
Which is essentially Rabid minus one person, so because they're a three-piece, that I was wearing the Vladimirs shirt, and like their drummer Chris, he's like, dude, how much is that shirt? And I'm like, these Nunslaughter shirts are $10. Like the one you're wearing, that Vladimir shirt, I need it. You're gonna buy a sweaty shirt off my back, dude. I want it. I cannot say no to a man willing to buy another man's shirt. It'll be whatever. And they literally bought the shirt off my back. So I would have to say that dude is fucking stoked about some Vladimirs, and I hope that you, the internet and Reaper Metal audience, are too. So yeah, there's a fun little. Oh, you guys are so great toward the end, but I mean it. So available now. Vladimirs available in those links below, as well as all this other lovely stuff. So support the channel, support the Halloween season. Don't be an internet troll. And because I apparently have to remind you of all this shit, if you're a fucking idiot and don't know by now that if you like a video, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Leave a comment. Let me know, because we did not answer the question. Does metal and horror go hand in hand? Or maybe it doesn't. And what are you going to be watching this Halloween season? Yada, yada, yada. Let it be known wherever you're consuming this content. And if you're doing that, that means you are subscribed, and I can notify you about upcoming videos and talk to you next time.